Welcome to Big Blend Radio with travel writer Linda Kassam, the food, wine, and shopping diva. Welcome, everyone. It is the final episode of 2024 on Diva Linda's podcast here on Big Blend Radio. You know her, the food, wine, and shopping diva, Linda Kassam. She's a travel writer and she loves to float her boat in the Pacific Northwest during the summer. And then in the fall through winter and early spring, she is back home in Arizona. And you can keep up with her at allingoodtaste.info. But today she's taking us to Tacoma, which is where her boat is floating. Right, Diva Linda? Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Back in Arizona where it's warm and dry, warm and dry. And we're sort of thawing out from the summer in Washington, but we'll be back in April.
Exactly. Nancy and I just got home to Tucson. And
Yay!
yeah, I think my skin went into shock after being in the Southeast and sweating in the swampies, so it's a little shock, but I'm happy for the sunshine and big blue skies and sunrises and sunsets. It's good to be here, but the Pacific Northwest is a special place, and we're going to talk about Tacoma. And I'm excited about this because I think sometimes it doesn't get as much publicity as it should, because there's the big sister Seattle up a little north of it. So the thing about Tacoma is it's beautiful. It's got a lot of history. And you have amazing views of Mount Rainier from there. So we've got two authors joining us who are also food, wine, and travel writers. I'm going to start with Peggy Cleveland. She is a traveler, a food and wine enthusiast, and author of the book that you all must have before the year ends, because you need to plan for going to Tacoma in 2025. So it is called 100 Things to Do in Tacoma Before You Die. So welcome, Peggy. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me today.
And everyone has to get it like now, right?
Well,
Because
it's a perfect Christmas gift. Especially I love to give it out with like some local products, like maybe some Washington wine, or a lot of people don't realize almond roca, the famous candy, is actually made here in Tacoma in its original factory. So that's a perfect gift.
you're getting the Santa's stocking a little bit bigger and bigger as you're
Oh,
talking. I'm going, this is getting
yeah.
big. This is good. I like that. But I think Tacoma is something people should put on the list. I think it's one of those undiscovered gems. It does get publicity, obviously, but I'm just excited to hear more about it because you just don't hear as much. So we also have Emily Molina joining us. She is a travel writer as well, but she is author of Tacoma's Tall Ship: The Extraordinary Journey of the Odyssey. And who doesn't love the name The Odyssey? Welcome, Emily. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
This is exciting because this is like a floating historic landmark that has done so much from being part of World War II. It's been what started in New York City. It's gone all over.
Yes, it has. Built in the Nevin shipyard in 1938. So it's been in Tacoma since 1978, actually.
Wow, wow. So I'm excited to learn more about her and see we need these names. What's your boat's name, Linda? Because boats need a name and ships.
Called Elbe, 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 after the river in Germany.
Oh, okay. I like this. I like this. I want to make sure everyone's websites get out there. So for Peggy, go to peggywhereshouldigo.com. She'll answer. She'll tell you to go to Tacoma. Emily, you can go to melinawriter.wordpress.com, and the links are in the episode notes. And as you know, Diva Linda is allingoodtaste.info. She also has an article about Tacoma. It's a discovery article because she's at the beginning of her adventures in Tacoma. And you can find that on blendradioandtv.com. Again, the link is in the episode notes. So, Diva Linda, I know that you've been doing a lot in the big sister city of Seattle. Is it a sister city? I call it a sister city, but you moved to Tacoma. What was some of the inspiration to say, okay, we're docking in Tacoma?
Actually, price of moorage, number one. So it's number one, it's very, very difficult to get mooring now for boats, especially larger boats like ours, mostly because during COVID, everybody bought a boat. And I don't know if the other girls might know this better than me, but I don't think there's a whole lot of new marinas that have come up in the last bit. No, not so much. And so when you an investor bought the beautiful resort marina that we were in, and the prices just kept going up, up, up in one day. And so Alan, my husband, had looked around to see where else we could go. And one day at the beginning of the summer, Thai Marina called and said, "We have a spot," meaning not a ton of spots. "We have a spot. Would you like to come look at it?" And it was honestly half the price of what we were paying. So we went and looked, and we said, "Yep, that would be good." So this is a whole new community for me, nothing that I had ever thought about. And but I really like it. It's Tacoma is for those of you who don't know, I lived in Seattle area for many years. My daughter was born there. I taught there. I did a lot of things there. Then we went away. Now we're back. But I never went to Tacoma. But Tacoma is almost kind of retro in a way. It reminds me of what Seattle was when we moved there in the 70s. There's less traffic. There's beautiful homes. There's great views. There's all the things that I need, like Metro Market and so forth. That that was an important part of the move. Do they have a Metro Market, which is in Peggy's book as one of the things that you should go get picnic supplies from. It's a wonderful gourmet kind of market. So anyway, that's what brought us there. Now that we're there, I only had a couple months because we took the boat to Canada, as we only had like a month or so to explore Tacoma. So in 2025 with Peggy's book, and I'm really interested to see where the Tacoma tall ship went, the Odyssey. I don't know where it went. I hope to find out that today. And really excited. And these girls told me they're going to take me along on some of their writing adventures as well. So I want to come back in a year and tell you what this newbie person, me, has found out about Tacoma and it really is a great city. I mean, it just is. There's hardly any graffiti. It's the weather's good, the views are good, the water's nice. Everything's wonderful.
I got lost in Tacoma.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, because I do. For some reason, I either end up on a military base or in a harbor, in a port. I don't know what that says about me, but but apparently I didn't show my legs. But I was on the dock. No, but anyway, we got lost. We were getting out of Seattle. I don't know if I turned to get somewhere, but we ended up. It was so beautiful, and I agree with you. And it was like I was like, oh God, I'm going to end up in major traffic. I'm like, I'm going to get in trouble. No, I didn't. And we just were like, hey, this is pretty cool. And the buildings look so historic to me. It kind of reminds me of some parts of Astoria, Oregon in a way. Just some of the buildings. I don't know if it's just I don't know, but what I saw, some of the brick, and I just was like, well, this has got some history to it. So obviously, right, Emily, the history is a big part of it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more about the city itself. And there are so many historic buildings. It's just very beautiful and charming. And a lot of people don't realize that. So definitely need to come to Tacoma.
Art community, which I love. Huge, huge, huge art community. And I think Chihuli's there with some of his glass works. And I'm hoping to find the botanical gardens. That'll be nice. But in Peggy's book, she had 100 things to go see, and on page 3 there's a place to go for brunch that I've never heard of. Page 8, coffee. There's also an axe throwing place you can go to. Who knew?
Oh, I'm in. I want to go axe throwing.
A Gig Harbor gondola, for heaven's sakes. And just this huge art community, which of course I love, and looking forward to exploring that more.
What?
Yeah. Peggy, you want to tell us a little bit of
Yes,
what we can
definitely.
visit for art?
Well, for art, definitely. A lot of people don't realize Dale Chihuly was actually from Tacoma. And so he's done some beautiful art installations that are public art. So you have the Tacoma, the Chihuly Bridge of Glass, which has actually 3 installations to it. It's very, very impressive. And also, Tacoma was the terminus of the Northern Pacific Railroad when it went all the way across the country. And so the old Union Station is now a federal building, but you can go in and just show your ID card. And then when you walk in, there's just these stunning Chihuly pieces of artwork that he designed specifically for the building. So a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
times you'll see his chandeliers in museums, but they're not actually hung. So this one is hung and it was designed just for this building. And then when you go upstairs, you can actually see the Tacoma Glass Museum too, with a Chihuly piece of artwork in the window. So it's just some beautiful art, and a lot of it's public right in the city.
Oh, wow. And do you have a lot of artists and art galleries or
We
co-ops?
do, of course, glass art is huge here. So you can actually go to some of the glass studios and make your own piece of glass. They'll help you with that. And then the
Mm,
Tacoma Glass Museum actually has what's called a hot shop, and they have glass artists from all over the world that come. And so you can tour the museum, and then you can actually sit in this gallery and watch artists create this work. So that's
mm.
something I think that's really unique to our city.
Yeah, I love glasswork. I have a friend who makes glass beads, and I would just sit there and just watch, mesmerized. I would just like she'll be talking, I'm like, shh, and just keep doing it, keep making
Well,
it because
so the
it's twirly whirly. It's cool.
Yeah, so the Tacoma Glass Museum is part of what's known as their museum district. So there's another art museum, and there's also a history museum. And then we also have the theater district. So we have a couple of historic theaters. So the tagline for the Tacoma area is kind of Mountain City Sea. So you could get up in the morning, go hike Mount Rainier. It's just a little over an hour drive,
Wow.
come back, rent a kayak kind of near where the Odyssey used to be, and do an urban kayak, right, where you can see the city buildings from the water, which is kind of a unique perspective. And then in the evening, go see a Broadway show at our theater district. So it's a
Wow.
pretty neat
What
city.
what is the entrance for Mount Rainier when from where you're located?
We usually go to the Nisqually entrance, and
Okay.
from there you can drive straight up to what's known as Paradise, and that's as far as you can drive on
Mm.
that side.
Oh, it's beautiful. That's where I went to Mount Rainier. In fact, it was I think our fourth park on our Love Your Park store that we went to. And I fell in love with it. I mean, when they talk about Paradise Meadow, I'm like, you can't get a better name. I mean, the flowers. I mean, it's no way. No way. It's just there's no way. And Nisqually, when you get that view of Mount Rainier and all, no way. It's just awesome. It is. So that's really cool to have in your backyard.
Well, and the nice thing in Tacoma, just like we call it live like the mountains out. So we get a lot of rain here during the winter and everything. But every couple days, and sometimes it might be every couple weeks, you'll get a sunny day, and everybody just gets outside, and we call it live like the mountains out. So if you see the mountains out that day, it might be more important to get outside than to do anything else. And we have incredible views of Mount Rainier. Like I have a picture, I may have to send it to you, of just from the Costco parking lot. And you're like, I cannot believe I'm looking at this stunning view of Mount Rainier just from a parking lot.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Emily, tell us a little bit about the Odyssey and how it ended up in Tacoma and what is this, the disappearing ship?
Well, the interesting thing too about Tacoma is that there's a huge maritime community.
Hmm.
I mean, it's surrounded by water and it's breathtaking. And there are many marinas. And, the Odyssey initially came to Tacoma as a Sea Scout ship. It was a Sea Scout training vessel. And there's so many companies too that have industry, maritime industry. And a lot of these youth you know, end up being on the Odyssey, learning all these skills, and then going into that industry in the maritime industry in this area. So it's been a really huge segue for youth to do those kinds of careers.
Mm.
And initially, it was built by descendants of the Vanderbilt family in New York. So
Wow.
the great great granddaughter of the Cornelius Vanderbilt himself. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And so when World War II came around, the boat was donated to the cause because that's what you did. And
Hmm.
it was used as a research vessel all throughout World War II and after. And it was the best disguise ever because it was this beautiful sailboat. And so no one knew. So it helped to develop sonar as we know it today, and lots of covert operations that we probably don't even know about.
I wonder if Julia Child went on it because
I don't know, but
she was,
Ernest,
worked in World War II. I mean, she helped create shark bait. I mean, shark, like a repellent against sharks.
oh,
And
maybe.
so that was her first, attempt at making recipes, was doing shark repellent for the soldiers in World War II.
Interesting.
It's
So
about,
Ernest Hemingway was friends with the Barclay Henrys. They're the ones that initially built the ship. So Ernest Hemingway was on it, and also Humphrey Bogart. So
Oh,
some big
so
names there.
this boat was, the book Tacoma's Tall Ship is about this boat Odyssey. Can you describe the boat to us? How long it is? How many bedrooms it has?
Oh,
Some of
see,
the
sure.
listen to
some
the
of the big
diva going right
features.
there. She's going,
Yeah.
she's
So
shopping.
yeah, I can appreciate what Linda was saying about how hard it is to find moorage for a large boat because the Odyssey is 90 feet long. And normally would have a 104-foot tall mast, the main mast, which because it needs some restoration, that is missing right now. But it has been moored on the Theophos waterway for at least the past 20 years. And there are 10 berths, but when it comes to the youth in Sea Scouts, they will find, I mean, if there's a place to put a sleeping bag, they'll put one there. So there's been as many as probably 50 youth sleeping on board on the top deck, in hammocks, in all kinds of things. So that's been a really fun thing, sleeping out under the stars,
Cool.
in a harbor somewhere in the Puget Sound. I mean, just amazing experiences that kids that were connected with this ship were able to have.
Wow. I want to do that in summer, in the summer
Yeah,
season.
and it's a year-round thing. So that's the other thing. So there's been plenty of days where we've been out on the Puget Sound in that nasty, cold weather. And yeah, the training doesn't stop.
So people can go on it today?
Well, actually, unfortunately, no, because it needs a lot of restoration. It's a wooden boat, and the Sea Scouts just couldn't afford to maintain it anymore. And so it actually recently sold to a gentleman who is, I just went to see it yesterday, and it was almost like saying my final goodbye. It's in Port Townsend right now. And he is a Frenchman, and he's actually a very renowned sailor in Cannes. And he is going to fully restore the ship to its former glory. And he's done that with several other historic vessels. So I feel like it's in the right hands. Odyssey is going to have a whole new life and even more extraordinary adventures. So it's really exciting.
Where's it
Oh, that's
going?
good.
Where's it going, Emily?
It's going to Cannes, France.
Well,
Are they
Diva
gonna?
Linda, you can go there.
And I was
Yeah.
invited to go. So
Oh, oh, this is great. This is great. Oh my God, go to Bertrand's winery festival they has there. Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad I found a home. This book is so interesting. Who would think a book about a boat would be interesting? But it's really super
Mhm.
interesting how this boat starts out as a luxury vehicle for the Vanderbilt family, and then it gets sold for $1 to the Navy, and then they run it around as a sort of a secret spy mission, kind of
It's
like you
cool.
said, because 90 foot with sails, who would be threatened by that, right?
right.
And then it gets sold again. I mean, it just what how old is this boat now? It would be 80.
Well, 86 years old.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's an old boat.
wow.
Yeah.
That's an
Wow.
old boat. I'm
Linda,
so
Alan, your husband Alan must have loved this story of the boat,
oh
of the
yeah.
Odyssey.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. This is just right up his alley, and it's such a great story. It's very
Mhm.
entertaining, and um even though I don't, I'm not all that into boats, I really loved it. I just thought it was
Mhm.
wonderful, and I'm just really feeling very heartfelt that the boat found a home, that somebody finally purchased it, that has enough money. I suppose they're going to have to put it on a barge, and they couldn't sail it.
Well, that's an interesting thought. The gentleman, he's done a lot of like racing in France, and he's very experienced, but he actually, I was kind of surprised by this. I thought that it was always going to be transported by barge, but he just told me yesterday that he intends to sail Odyssey to France, which means that Odyssey will go through the Panama Canal for a third time.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And that, you know, so he wants to get obviously to the East Coast, but I just don't know. I have some thoughts about that, but I'm definitely going to stay, you know, connected with him and find out his progress. He
She
hasn't
needs a
left yet.
webcam. She
I
wants an Odyssey
know. I
webcam.
really want to go. I just want to, can I go on the transport with you? That's what I really want to do.
Oh, cool.
I
That's
know,
cool.
heavy seas. I don't know. There'll be a lot of rocking and rolling, but
Definitely. That's kind of what I'm concerned about, but
Yeah.
no, I'm just so happy because I'm I'm sad on one hand because Tacoma has lost this great icon that has been here for so long. And however, many ships of this age don't get so lucky and they end up, you know, in a scrapyard somewhere. And
Yeah.
Odyssey just has too much history, and it's important that it's being saved. And this gentleman really appreciates that. He's restoring it. He's not going to make it look like some brand new, you know, interior. He wants it to look original to the way it looked when it was built.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's like taking care of buildings, you know, they're ladies. And, you know, and some ships got sunk, like in the Midwest and like Lake Erie and stuff, they sink the ships in winter and they're still finding things popping out, you know. It's like, oh, what's that? You know. So it's kind of it's, you know, that could have happened. So, you know, or be destroyed even in the world, you know, World War II, you can get destroyed. I mean, they used to bomb each other, you know. So
Yeah,
that's really
absolutely.
it's good, but it's a good thing you wrote the book because now you're keeping, you know, her presence alive as well for and that's accessible to everybody by having the book out there. So, and it's on Amazon and everybody can get it there easily. So, for those who are ship lovers, this is a good book to get for the holidays too. Can we talk about food a little bit?
Oh,
I just
yes.
kind of feel like food and you're all food, wine, travel writers, right? So, Peggy, can you give us a little overview? And I know you're writing another book, and you're both writing about food of Tacoma.
Yes.
So, what can you give us an overview, Peggy, of what the food scene is like? Is it mostly seafood since you're on the water?
Well, it's really an eclectic food scene. And one thing I really love about it is all the chefs are really collaborative. So you'll find a lot of new restaurants that are actually going to be opening this year is a result of Kickstarter campaigns where a chef may have gotten famous at a farmer's market
Oh,
or, you know, gained a following. So we have some restaurants that'll be opening up there. One that's already open is Buddy's Chicken and Waffles, and he's just a Tacoma character. You know, people followed his experience trying to open a restaurant on Instagram, so that was a lot of fun. But I would kind of describe the food here. It's kind of like a Pacific Northwest fusion. So you have a huge Asian community here. You know, Filipino, Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese. Um, and then you have these just incredible Pacific Northwest ingredients. Like people, a lot of the chefs here really care about where the food comes from. So, you know, farm to table is not really like a one-off thing here. Like most of the restaurants that you'll eat at here that are chef driven, the ingredients come locally from the farms around here. So that's, I think, unique. And then, of course, the Puget Sound, just incredible seafood, you know, fresh salmon, indigenous crab, Pin Cove mussels. They've actually they come from Coopville, but they've become renowned, you know, throughout the world. So people will serve those as well.
Quick
Oh.
question. Of the restaurants that you recommend in 100 Things to Do in Tacoma Before You Die, which is your favorite restaurant?
Oh, I can't tell you
Uh-oh.
that. The next one I eat at, I just love, you know, the community is so interesting. And I think one of the things that kind of made not really a mistake, but when I wrote 100 things to do in Tacoma before you die, it's 100 things. So I did 20 restaurants, and I just started listing restaurants that I like to go to. And I didn't really think about, the whole overall of the food community, especially like I love steak. So I ended up having like 4 steak restaurants in there, and I didn't have a vegan restaurant. So the book I'm working on now is 84 entries. So I've really reached out to a lot
Wow.
of different people, chefs, like Emily's a food writer, my church ladies, people that are vegans, everybody, to kind of get a really good overview of the food community here. So,
Yeah, I like what Diva Linda was talking about also with picnics, because the picnics, when it's a beautiful day out in the Pacific Northwest,
oh
the
yes.
sun is out, and you can go have a picnic with some local wines. I think there's something special about that, like, local cheeses, local
Oh, good.
fruits and breads. And I mean, that is my favorite thing in the world, is to be out in nature with a picnic that is locally
Oh,
sourced.
and there's so many great restaurants too that'll do people just pick their food up, especially when the mountain's out. I'm not going to eat in a restaurant. I'm going to pick my food up and go sit in one of the mini parks, or just go out,
Mm.
look at the water and enjoy your lunch. So
Yeah, yeah. Now what about wine? Emily, is there good local wines? I know there are. There's wine.
Um, there's a lot of great tasting rooms, surprisingly, that are popping up in Tacoma. There's a Dahlman Cellars. They're great.
yes.
I've written about them in my food column in South Sound magazine.
Mhm.
And then there's actually a new one, OBK Winery. They're getting ready to open probably after the new year. And so it's really great to see. And Peggy mentioned a little bit about how the chefs collaborate, but I've noticed that all the upcoming wineries and the tasting rooms, they are all very supportive of each other too. So it's not really like, oh no, we have this competition. They kind of share that together, and I think that really represents Tacoma and the
Mhm.
way people are here. So it's
Well,
it's really nice to see.
oh yeah, I'd like to bring something up too about Dahlman Cellars. They're actually just down there in what's called the Stadium District. And I don't know if you ever saw the movie 10 Things I Hate About You, and this just gothic
Well, she's
looking
got a thing
high
about
school.
numbers, death and hate. I
But
mean, I'm
anyways, this
just kidding.
I think it was originally built to be a home and then a hotel and everything, but it's this high school is just so classic looking. But Dahlman Cellar is actually one of their bottles of wine. I'm not sure which variety it is, but the proceeds from that go to support the school, which is
Oh,
in the
cool.
right near where they're located.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's interesting because Andrea, the wife of the duo, her father, it was either her father or her grandfather had something to do with designing it was originally built as a hotel,
Yeah,
Stadium High School. But anyway, so yeah, and they actually have the plans on the wall in there. So it's pretty cool that you can go in and see it.
yeah.
Wow. Diva Linda, you got a new spot for sure, like a good new spot. Like you're
Excellent.
doing good.
I might be wrong, I might be right, but I understand there's a strong coffee culture there.
Oh my
So
goodness.
Yes.
go
Diva
beyond.
Linda's like, you must have the strong coffee culture. It's not
Do you
like,
have
is there? There better be.
do you have a favorite coffee place? Any that
Yeah,
you like, either one of you?
well, I live in Steilacoom, which is like it's a tiny like suburb of outside of
Yeah.
Tacoma. And it's actually the oldest city, I believe, in Washington. But we have what's called the coffee cabin, so I can walk down there and get coffee. But I think anybody Tacoma would say blah 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 the neighborhood, coffee shop, because there's literally probably um I guess when I lived in the South, there was a church on every corner, but I think here in Tacoma, you could easily say there's a coffee shop on every corner. So we tend to like to support the local coffee shops, and all of them have really interesting owners with great stories, and it's a fun place to hang out and relax. And when the mountain's not out, you go in to get coffee.
And so that's what I like about your book. Your book is a list of 100 things, but you do a very short blurb on each one so that you have in your head what you're going to go see. I like that a lot. It's not 2 or 3 pages on everything. It's like a blurb on everything. And I don't know, you make everything sound so interesting, and you have a fusion of things. You have a Korean market, you have a not, I didn't know Tacoma has a nighttime market, is that right? Farmers market?
Yes, it's called the Tacoma Night Market, and that it appears different times of the year. Like sometimes it's during the day, sometimes at night. But it's a very eclectic market that brings. It's more, I would say, artisans than
Okay.
like a farmer's market. So.
There's actually a new market that's been around for a few months now. It's called the Haunted Market too.
Oh,
So
yay.
I just learned about that the other day.
Both Linda and I jumped as soon as you said haunted. We're like, ooh, let's
I
go.
know.
Well,
Well, one of the things I think is so unique to Tacoma, or at least for me, was when I first moved here. You just drive around the city, and some you might be like in the middle of a neighborhood, or like how you were saying, Lisa, about getting lost. And the next thing you know, there's just like this mini small town right in the middle of the city. So you'll have like a couple shops, maybe the restaurant, dry cleaners, coffee shop. And there's 15 different ones in Tacoma, and they're called Tacoma Economic Districts, and some of them are historic too. So they're
oh.
really fun to kind of just find. And
Mhm.
there's a website for it that gives more information about each different district. And that's I think in the book is one of the entries, is discover these economic districts.
Oh, cool. Emily, do you have a favorite coffee shop in your neighborhood?
Well, I do go to the coffee cabin a lot because Peggy and I are kind of almost neighbors, and I know the owners really well. They're really nice people, and it's great to support small businesses like that when you know that the owners give back to the community all the time, and they're just really nice. I recently discovered a new coffee shop in downtown Tacoma area. It's called Soulberry Coffee, and oh, it's just adorable. Like from the outside, you can't tell what it looks like on the inside because they kind of sell themselves as a coffee and a dry speakeasy because they also serve non-alcoholic beverages there with like all these different syrups and things. And it's owned by a lady and her husband who is a veteran. So I always want to support veteran-owned businesses as well. But it's amazing. It's just beautiful what they've done with the interior. It has like this rustic vibe and it's like really long. So like when you walk in, it's like just an interesting concept, the way the space is set up, but great coffee drinks and mocktails, and they do live music. And so
Oh,
I'm just
cool.
loving that.
Now, live music is important. Do you have like theater, like, what do you have for entertainment in Tacoma?
Oh my goodness, there's
Yeah.
several theaters. There's all kinds of amazing, shows that are being put on.
Uh,
And then, different concert. Well, we have the Tacoma Dome for major concerts that take place here. And yeah, there are a lot of places like the coffee shop that I mentioned that have sort of started doing little artist nights, I guess we'll call it,
mhm.
with different people performing and just kind of giving them that chance to share their talent. And it's a nice
Mm,
place to just go and relax for an evening and enjoy some music or
mm.
poetry or whatever it may be.
Oh
So
yeah,
here's the
me.
question.
Oh,
Bakery. What is a
Oh,
great bakery in Tacoma? So I just have to go over the bridge.
Well,
What do we
I
have?
tell you mine, but I'll let Peggy go.
oh goodness, there's so many. But Emily and I just tried one recently. It's called Three Hearts, and they just opened in the historic Hilltop district. And it's the cutest. It's two families, and particularly one of the owners, Jeff. He had been a chef, so he was finding he wasn't getting enough family time now that he has young children, and so he would get off work and like just learn how to
mm.
bake. Like he would bake from like 11 to 2 in the morning, just practicing and honing his skill. So when the families opened this business, they hired a chef, but Jeff does all the baking, and it's kind of interesting because he does not only sweet stuff, but he does a lot of savory things too.
Oh, good. Like, oh, that's what I like is like savory breads, and ooh, and croissants. What do you get? Do you have any place that does like really good croissants in Tacoma? I'm just craving them. It's the holiday season. We always have croissants and
Uh,
champagne. it's a must.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I'm not
No?
sure about, well, there's a place that I really love to go. It's called the Wren's Nest, and it's interesting. It's in the Proctor area, um, close to Ruston, actually. It's closer to Ruston. Uh, it's a gluten-free bakery, all gluten-free. And the
Wow.
funny
Mhm.
thing about that is like I'm not gluten-free or anything, but when you go there and you try it, like you wouldn't know that it's gluten-free at
Mm-hmm.
all because it's so delicious. So I mean, it's just amazing what they can do with, you know, all the different things that they have. And it's a beautiful space. It's like a new building that's made to look old. So it's really interesting and I enjoy going there. And I can't remember, did I take you there, Peggy?
Not yet. We're definitely
Okay.
gonna have to go. Well, Linda, when you come, we'll have to all go and
Oh
have
my gosh,
Yes.
Linda, you're going to have like a big party. I mean, this sounds like, an epic adventure.
Yay.
But I think, it's interesting when you talk about the gluten free. It's the same thing as vegan food. People are like, you can't like vegan baked goods. It's like hard to find good ones, but there are people who know how to do vegan food really well and vegan baked goods really well. And you don't have to even be told. It's just, is it good or not?
Hmm.
So that's great that you have vegan restaurants out there too. That's a good
Mm.
thing. It's a growing population of vegans, in the world. So that's a good thing too. So, well, Linda, I mean, anything you're missing? I mean, in Tacoma, it's sounding good to me.
I'm really looking forward to this spring and summer. Well, of course, we'll have to go to Canada too, but that's a good thing about me. People clap when the businesses clap when I come in because we stock up the boat for 3 to 4 months, and I buy big. So when we go to the bakery, I buy big. I have 10 of those, I have 12 of those, that sort of thing. So it'll be great to go on a shopping spree with the ladies who actually know what it is. I really, do you think the boat will be gone by the time I get there in April?
Um, well, yeah, I do. And he honestly has plans to leave in the next couple days if the weather holds. But if the weather doesn't
Wow.
hold, he may end up back in Tacoma at the Foss Waterway Seaport dock for a little while. And that was why I went to Port Townsend yesterday to see the boat, what I thought might be one last time before it goes to France. And it was so heartbreaking for me, but also exciting. But if it's still here, of course, we can go and do a tour if you like.
Mm.
How's he going to rename it? Is he now? So that would be, if he renamed it, that would be the third name. Is that correct?
Well, it started out Odyssey, and then during the war, it was called the USS Saluda, and then it became Odyssey again. And no, he will absolutely keep the Odyssey
Mm.
Oh,
name
good,
because
good.
he is
Yeah.
really set on honoring that original history of that design and just that, historic ship that it started
Mm.
out.
Speaking of you being a maritime community, um, one thing I love about the holiday season when we lived in Southern California was all the boat parades over the Christmas time and even 4th of July and stuff. It was just like, I don't know, it was fun. It was just even seeing coastal villages all decked out. It was just, it was nice and warm and you're like, what? But do you have that happening? Like, do you have
Um,
any kind of boat parades and that kind of, event?
um, yes,
Yes, there are
definitely.
several, and Odyssey actually has participated in several of the maritime parades. So boat parades, it's very fun, and everyone lights up, decks their boats out, and there's a really
Linda,
fun one in
see?
Tacoma.
Yeah.
Linda, I think you have to do it.
Oh, definitely.
LB needs to be in a parade and all
Yes,
glittered up.
we
Does it
could
is it only
go.
the holiday season or do you have summer boat parades?
There
No, just
are
the holidays, I think.
there are
Yeah,
some
they
other
have the opening day
yes.
boating parade and the yacht club that we joined apparently
Oh,
does
that's
that.
good. That's good.
And most of the boats do that. I have a question though. I'm sorry, I'm off task. Behind you, Emily, is that the Odyssey?
Yes, it is. It's a
See, I
it's a
just want
small
everybody to see how grand she is.
it's a
Yeah,
small scale version of the Odyssey
look at her.
that I
She's a
have.
madam, a
She is.
madame,
She
a
is. She's a
madame, not a
beautiful
madam.
lady.
Not that kind of madam, but a madame, you know, a grand madame, you know. Yeah. And now
So
she's going to
sales.
France.
Oh
Oh,
my, look at
Yes,
this, the sales compared to the boat. I mean,
it's
wow.
pretty
I would,
incredible. Yes.
I wouldn't want to be the ones taking it up and down, I'll tell you that. Or
Well, it
having
takes
to
a crew, that's for sure.
crew. Can you imagine switching the sails and all that kind of stuff? Well, you don't want to be in the way when it goes whoopity wop. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Yeah, the
Okay.
boom could really hurt someone if they're
I,
not knowing what they're doing.
in closing, I've got a good idea for this. Okay, so she's still in Tacoma, right? In right now in our world today, in this conversation, she's
Okay.
docked in Tacoma. Okay, and so if you were going to have a goodbye dinner or meal on the Odyssey, right? Who would you invite each of you to get on the Odyssey with? Could be alive or passed on. Who would you want on the Odyssey with you to share this special moment? And what are you going to eat and drink that reflects the Odyssey's, elegance and grace and strength and Tacoma as a whole, or even the Washington State region? So, yeah, isn't that kind of cool? We got to do a send off to the Odyssey. So, where are you going to go, Linda? I mean,
Well,
where are you going to go? Who are you going to take with you?
I'll take my husband because this will be
Mm.
really, that would be really, really, really special. And he would actually appreciate it rather than doing a plus one who may or may not know. The guy who owns the charter boat, he probably love it too. But anyway, take my husband. And one of the things I love about living in the Northwest is shrimp cocktails. I don't know, they just taste better there. So I'd love to have shrimp cocktails and white wine, a local white wine. And I would be toasting to her as she makes her final voyage. Oh, it's just so sad. But
Oh,
good that somebody is going to love her. And that she's
mm.
not going to the scrapyard.
Oh, I like that too. What about you, Peggy?
Well, I would definitely take my husband because when it's something that's a special occasion or something, that out of the ordinary, I always like to have him come along. And
Sounds
then
like you ladies are really going for Christmas gifts here. I'm just I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
and then I would have my friend Chef Jan Parker, and she just recently had a successful Kickstarter, so she's going to be opening a restaurant here shortly. But she cooks a lot of times at the Proctor Market. But anyway, she was a military spouse, and that's kind of how I met her. And she used to help with our wine club, and she did a catered meal for us one time. But she's a Filipino, and she loves infusing her heritage with local, fresh Pacific Northwest ingredients. And she can always just make the most unique menus no matter what the occasion is. So I think she would love the challenge of cooking on a boat, and I'm sure she would feed us something awesome.
Nice, nice. What about you, Emily?
Well, this one
No
kind of,
tears allowed.
okay, this is hard because it does pull at my heartstrings. And my son and his crew are now the last Sea Scout Ship Odyssey crew of
Wow.
youth that can be called that. And so I would bring
Wow.
him, and there's probably about a handful of youth that are considered the last crew of Odyssey. I would bring them, and I do know a lot of really amazing chefs that I would love to invite. And I'm just thinking it would be so fun to picture them in that tiny little galley cooking up
Maybe
some
Sean
really amazing
Tibbetts
meal.
would.
But because I've done it, and it's not easy to do things in there. And it is a bigger galley than most, but we had a gal that was our cook on board. Her name's Jenna, and she was just amazing at it. And she would cook all the meals for the crew, and it was really good. So I would invite her, and it would be like one last,
Hurrah.
hurrah for the Sea Scout Ship Odyssey youth.
Oh, so hamburgers and pizza done eloquently.
And hot dogs. No,
Oh yeah, hot dogs, but the fancy wieners, yeah, yeah, the fancy ones,
right.
and good mustard. There it is. Awesome. Well, ladies, thank you so much. Linda, I'm so excited to hear your follow-up story on this. Again, Diva Linda's got a nice overview article. You can read it on blendradioandtv.com, but it's linked in the episode notes, and follow her at allingoodtaste.info. Keep up with Emily. And again, the book is called Tacoma's Tall Ship, The Extraordinary Journey of the Odyssey, who's going on another journey. Go to melinawriter.wordpress.com. Also get it on Amazon. And Peggy Cleveland's book is 100 Things to Do in Tacoma Before You Die, but we want you all to stay alive. Go to peggywhereshouldigo.com and also Amazon, all those great places to get the books. It's the holiday season, and you've got friends in Washington State or the Pacific Northwest. This is a great book for them, both books. And ship lovers, definitely, the Odyssey one, you're going to want that too. So thank you so much, and happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, featuring members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. We encourage you to visit their website. We say IFTWA, which is ifwtwa.org. You can also follow us at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels, everyone!